So we're in Banned Book Week, which is put on by the American Library Association to draw attention to banned and challenged books. I'll leave information in the description of this video for Banned Book Week, as well as some videos that are great resources for learning more about the difference between banned and challenged books, the effects of banned books on authors and on consumers, and all that jazz. Lots of good information. I'll have it all linked in the description. This video is going to be me recommending some banned and challenged books that I've read that I think are fantastic and that you might want to put on your radar. Starting with Monday Is Not Coming. I started this book 2 days ago and I've already finished it. It was a phenomenal read, and when I started researching for this video, I was shocked to see it on the list. And I don't know why it should have been challenged. So this story follows Claudia, our main character, and her best friend Monday, who has gone missing. And she's really the only one that seems to care. She's the one that is pursuing information, that's trying to find her, trying to contact her. She keeps asking other people to help her and everybody just keeps pushing it down. Some people that know more than her and are trying to get her to stop talking about it, and some people who don't know and aren't prioritizing this like they should. This is an incredible story, and it focuses on so many different things. It tackles so many different topics in such layered and nuanced ways. It was challenged because there's explicit language about sex. Yes, there are scenes where teens are talking about sex in this book, which I found in a whole lot of YA books. But like, that's not even mildly the focus of this book. The story tackles so many topics in my opinion, an incredibly well-written way. We discuss abuse, trauma, learning disabilities, race, kids speaking out and speaking up about stuff and not being heard, not being listened to, friendship, family, beliefs. It just, oh my goodness, so many different things are discussed in this story that and done so well. And I think that the writing is incredible. The way the story is presented, having flashbacks of Claudia and Monday and their relationship and their friendship and the build up to what happened, and then the reveal of what has happened. This is a book that tackles so many important topics in such a nuanced way, and I highly, highly recommend it. It was recommended to me by my friend Alise, which I will have her channel also linked in the description. Check her out, she's amazing, I love her. And I recommend it to you. So good. Next up we have Moss, which was, I think it was banned earlier this year, or maybe last year. Time is a weird thing. But when it was banned, I was really shocked, and I started looking up articles on why and interviews with the author, because this was written by a man whose father is a survivor of the Holocaust, and it's his story of him going to his father, which he had kind of a tumultuous relationship with, and this was the first time that they were able to sit down in a room together for a long period of time, over days, and just talk. And his dad told his story, and he wrote it down and turned it into a comic book. And while I don't jive with this art style, I thought it was so well written. I thought that it was, I mean, it's a man's story, and it's surprising to me that it was challenged because of the stuff that is read in schools. When kids are learning about this in history class, they're reading books about people's stories. So why not this too? Why not have a variety of formats that kids can read it so that they can potentially get more from it and connect to these stories even more, or have more opportunities to do so. Anyway, it was challenged because it incorporates curse words and there is a depiction of a naked character. So the art style, what the artistic choice that Art made in this book is that he made the Jewish people mice and he made the Nazis cats. So yes, that's true, but it wasn't even a human depiction of this. And anyway, in one of Art's interviews, he said, "This is disturbing imagery, but you know what? It's disturbing history." Anyway, highly recommend Moss. I'm glad I read it. when I did. Next up, we have More Happy Than Not. Adam Silvera is an author that I haven't read any of his books in a while, but I read 3 of his books back when I first discovered him. I read them pretty much back to back, or really close together, because I was just very drawn into the very blunt, raw, real writing style that he had. He would just take these difficult topics and lay them out there. And I really, really appreciated this. This was when I was reading a lot more YA and I wasn't accustomed to his just lay everything bare writing style, and I really, really appreciated that. And More Happy Than Not is my favorite book by him of the 3 that I've read. His books have some really disturbing imagery in them. They have some harsh language. They have some really rough stuff, but that's because of his choice to just bluntly talk about things in the language of kids that are trying to figure out life. And I really appreciated his books when I read them. Next, there are tons of really awesome classics that have been banned or challenged. To Kill a Mockingbird, Lord of the Flies, Animal Farm, The Posthumous Memoirs of Bras Cubas. That's wild to me. Anyway, classics have been banned and challenged for many reasons over many years, but because they've had so much time behind them to get challenged, there are some really funny reasons that came up while I was researching these titles. Like, for instance, To Kill a Mockingbird, which I'll hold up because I'm a booktuber, at one point was challenged in a New York school district as a filthy, trashy book. That was the reason for the challenge. And I just think that that is amazing and hilarious. Next up is Dear Martin, which is a book that I read a couple of years ago, so forgive me if my memory on some of the specifics are a little bit foggy. This follows Justice, who is a teen that's grappling with the effects of racism around him. Some big events have happened that have affected people that he knows personally, and then he gets dragged into it as well. And the way he processes this and processes what this means for him and his future, he starts writing letters to Martin Luther King Jr., who is an icon and a role model to him, and he starts writing letters to him, kind of processing his Martin Luther King Jr.'s teachings and what that means for him today. Again, I read this a couple years ago, so I can't speak as strongly on it as I can some of these other books in my list, but I do remember that this left a huge impact on me, and there are some scenes in this that are still very, very vivid to me. And I just remember coming away from this feeling like I had learned a lot, I had a lot to discuss, and that there were several topics that I felt were handled in such a nuanced, holistic way that I just really, really appreciated. Final book on this list is, dadgummit, I lent it to my mom and I've never gotten it back. Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. So this has not been challenged or banned in any school systems, which most of these that I talked about have been. And in fact, this has been used in some school curriculums, which I learned when I was researching this video, which just made me so happy because I love this book. It was one of my favorite books of the year last year. It's left such a big mark on me. But it has been banned in several prisons, and I couldn't find any reasons why, and I don't understand why it would be, but anyway, Kindred. This is the first Octavia E. Butler book that I read. I've read a couple of her books since then. I am continuing to read more of her books very soon. Actually, I have one in my October TBR, but this is still my favorite of hers that I've read so far. So this follows Dana, I'm pretty sure was her name, a young 26-year-old Black woman in modern day who all of a sudden is just ripped back into the past. And you know what? Let me look it up so I can make sure I'm getting the dates right. Okay, her modern day time is 1976, and it doesn't give an exact date in the description. It says just antebellum Maryland for the Amazon description. But anyway, she's been ripped back into the past, and the incident that she sees is that there's a young boy drowning. So she runs and she saves him. But now she's stuck in the past in antebellum Maryland with a Black woman with no free papers, and it's a very quick time travel, and then she's brought back to present time, but then with no rhyme or reason that we can tell or that she can tell from the beginning, she continually gets abruptly pulled back to that timeline, continuing to follow this boy. And she doesn't know what her connection to him is, and we don't find out at the very beginning, so I'm certainly not going to tell you. But it's a very slow-moving story that follows her as she's dealing with the day-to-day life of being in this time where she has no freedom, where she has very little security, where she has other day-to-day problems as well, like hopefully I don't get sick where in a time where medicine is basically nothing. Hopefully I don't eat bad meat. Hopefully I don't get bit by a mosquito and contract a disease. Like so many potential bad things and many bad things that do happen. And she connects with her family, and there's a lot of stuff going on in this book, and I absolutely loved it. I think that it's a phenomenally written story, and I have recommended it many times, and I continue to recommend it. I love this book. So there you go. Those are a few banned and challenged books that I have read and highly recommend. I will also leave linked several other videos of booktubers who are recommending banned books that are also probably awesome. Lots of links in the description. Check them out. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the second channel, which is also linked in the description. I'll see you again soon. Bye.